impossible to know everything. And it really is hard when you're supposed to be a leader to be like, hey, by the way, because your job is supposed to be people can trust you, they can rely on you, right? But there has to be that middle ground of you have to learn, you have to humble yourself, and then ask for help, find resources.
Yeah.
For ladies and women, when you're coming into a leadership role, when you're in an industry where it is heavily male dominated, for you to have to really understand what it is that you're doing, really educate yourself so nobody can try to finesse you on anything, and you get respected a little bit more.
Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I'm Emma Jackson.
And I'm Jose.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, none other than Juliet Garcia. Juliet is a commercial property manager and a realtor here in Houston, and she has had a very unconventional path to her career, and we want to dive in and talk a little bit more about that. So thank you for joining us, Juliet.
Welcome to the show.
Awesome to be here. I appreciate it.
So start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from.
Born and raised in Philadelphia.
Philly.
Philly girl, John here. We moved to Colombia for a few years, stayed there, moved back to the States, and my mom wanted to stay in Philadelphia. My dad.
Colombia, the country.
Colombia, the country. Yeah, South America.
That's
so we
really
lived there.
cool.
That's where my dad's from.
So what
Like
you prefer,
Colombia, South
Philly
Carolina.
or Colombia?
You know, it was like I was crying because we were leaving the States to go, and then I was crying to come back home. It was the weirdest thing ever. But I think living there did shape me a little bit in appreciating what I have, understanding the amount of commercialism that there is in the States, even being there at a young age. Being able to appreciate things. You know, I came with all of my Mattel Barbies and, you know, little Hot Wheel cars and the remote control cars. Like, this is normal stuff that kids have in the States, you know. And then getting there, and then the girls say, oh, yeah, let's play, you know, con los muñequitos with the Barbies and the dolls. And I'd pull out my really nice rubber Mattel, and they'd have these little Barbie dolls that if you held them too tightly, the legs would just like collapse.
Wow.
And the hair was just like a little bit of a string of hair. And I unfortunately collapsed somebody's legs when I was playing because I didn't know how to handle it. And, you know, I obviously gave her one of my Barbies. I felt horrible. But just seeing that, I was maybe about 8 years old, and I was like, wow, how happy they are with the little bit that they do have. And then realizing kind of how much of a spoiled brat I could be with the things that I had. And coming back to the States, it just completely kind of changed it, and I kind of still have that mentality today.
Yeah, the States, honestly, it's completely different. Like, I lived in Puerto Rico for a year. Amazing. But the difference from a territory like Puerto Rico coming back to Houston, it's like 90-day difference.
Yeah, it's totally different. So that was a really cool experience, made some great friends, moved back to the States. My mom was like, let's stay here because that's where all of our family's from. And my dad was like, I'm never shoveling snow again. Like, we're not doing this. And so it was either Florida or Houston. And he had a really good contact when we were living in Colombia of another entrepreneur that had a business in Houston. And he was like talking about the struggles of having to fly back to the States, dealing with your company. My dad also had a company in Philadelphia. He's also like, man, the struggle of having to fly back. You don't really have a business partner that you can trust. And they just hit it off. And the guy was like, why don't you go to Houston? Let's be partners, go run it, and then I could just live here in Colombia with my family. You can be, in somewhere warm with your family, and it's a win-win. And that's what we did. We wound up moving to Houston. He bought into the business, eventually bought him out, and then we've been here ever since.
That's not unlike what we did. We were like, I'm not doing another Chicago winter.
Yeah.
I said, absolutely not. I called Jose. Jose had already gone to Puerto Rico, and I was like, I'm going to Guatemala for a month just to get some sun. And then we were like, this is unsustainable. We should maybe we should move somewhere warmer. And okay, so you said your dad was an entrepreneur, right? And ran a small business. How did that impact your life?
Business?
That is free child labor. No. But seriously, he started with exterminating, actually worked with Terminex, and then realized like I could pretty much do this on my own, opened this little business, and it just started growing from there. Obviously from that we went to Colombia, came back. He still had that one in Philadelphia. We moved to Houston, and then by then I'm already reaching about 10 years old. And he's like, okay, you need to like figure out money, and I'm not going to give it to you, right? Because Spanish people, we don't believe in just handing our children money for doing chores. Like, this is your contribution for living here. And so he had, at that time, he had bought into a window cleaning business. It was a building maintenance, restoration, waterproofing company. and they had a little route in Brenham, Texas. It's about an hour away. And he said, "Do you want to buy a business?" And I'm like, "I'm 10. Like, what are you talking about?" And
I'm 10.
yeah, and he goes, "Well, you're gonna learn how to clean windows on Saturdays, and we're gonna drive out there, and you're gonna have to do it. I think he said like 4 times, and then it's yours. And then you have to learn how to do your taxes. You have to learn how to do your invoicing. You have to learn how to apply payments. You have to learn your QuickBooks and do all that." And I was like, "All right, cool." Obviously, at 10 years old, I'm not like actually cleaning the windows. You know, he's doing the brunt of the work. I'm just kind of like wetting it. But yeah, we did that. And I started to learn how to enter my payments, learning QuickBooks. So when I
No way.
grew up, you know, and then I would tell people, "Yeah, I've been using QuickBooks since like 99. And they're looking at me like, "There's no way."
They're
And
like,
it's
"This
like,
is
yeah,
not checking the math, it's not math.
when employers ask for 25 years of experience, like that's literally what it was. But it definitely helped us. Helped me with, you know, finances and understanding how businesses work, understanding your P&Ls, doing your 1099s for your contractors. It was really cool. I mean, I did that all through my middle school, high school, some of my college. And then by then I wound up doing it on my own. I was making decent money, you know, for a 10, 12-year-old, you're getting like $600 a month. Like that's crazy, you know. So it was a nice little foundation for me for sure. My dad always said, you know, me and my sister, he both got us into the accounting portion of, at a minimum, at least you'll know how to do your own finances, and at a minimum, you can at least get into a mom and pop and help them with their books. So you'll always be able to have a job, you know, whether you decide to get married or not. You'll be able to kind of like hold on your own, and it's definitely benefited.
It's
me
kind of
to this
crazy.
day.
We kind of have the same story. So when I was 11, I wanted to buy some Jordans, and my dad was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna buy Jordans." He said, "You gotta go get a job," and I was like, "Papi, how am I gonna get a job? I'm like 11 years old." And he's like, "Go wash some cars," and that's what I actually did. I started my little car washing business. Recruited a couple of my friends. They did all like the washing, and I used to be the salesperson. You just collect the money, buy the equipment, and then deliver kind of like the jobs to them, and they executed it.
It's crazy that you said the Jordans because like I didn't have to spend my own money for like school clothes. Like obviously mom would always take me shopping for my school clothes. But there was one year in middle school that I wanted a pair of Jordans, and it was like the white Jordans, and they had like this blue thing like metallic that like went over it and it would latch at the bottom of the shoe. And I don't know, they were probably like $100, $200. And I was like, "Yeah, you know, for my school shoes." My mom's like, "That is not in the
Yeah.
budget for school shoes." She's
Mom-
like, "You could use your own money." And it hurt so bad, like using my own
But you
cash.
value
But
it
yeah,
so
I
much
clean those
more.
things every day.
Yeah.
I clean them every day.
100%. Yo, we used to get the little fake Air Forces with a Puerto Rican flag next to them on the side, or the
Who would
Shaq ones.
know? Nobody would know.
Nah. We used to go to flea market, and we used to take like the shoes, and they used to airbrush them too. The good old days.
Oh my gosh, see, I had no sense of style, and I went to a little school where everyone had to wear the same uniform, and no one is allowed to go online and find pictures of me circa that age because it was real bad. I was not wearing the cool clothes. So
Florida, we didn't have uniforms back in the day. You had
No,
uniforms?
we had uniforms here, and I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with this. It's just dinging like crazy.
Just throw it all the way across the studio.
That is
I
proof
feel like
how
I
busy
should-
you are. That is literally the proof right
I
there.
put my phone on silent, and it's still dinging. Oh my god, what was I gonna say? Sorry.
Oh, really?
Uniforms.
Yeah,
Uniforms, yes. So
Uniforms.
I had uniforms in Houston. In Philadelphia, I feel like I should take this off. Should I put it in the other room? I'm sorry. Just chunk it over there. And in Philly, we didn't have that. You know, it's like you just go in your street clothes. In Houston, that was where I was introduced to it in middle school. You had to wear, I think it was like khakis and navy pants, and then you had like red and white polos that you could do. But then you couldn't have a logo, which was really tough because it's like every store has a logo on it. So you're like really trying hard because they felt, you know, the point of the uniform is to make everybody feel equal, like nobody feels left out, and then you can't like go in there with like an American Eagle or like a polo, and then somebody has something. But
No, my transition was elementary school uniforms, and then my parents were like, "Okay, we need to introduce you to the real world," because I had this like little like I gone to this like little private school because you know for a few years, and my parents were like, "You need social skills," and so they put me in the public middle school, and I had no social skills. So they had done, you know, this was good, this was important, and all of a sudden it's like the jungle. It's like, you know, everyone from every walk of life and every possible background, and I did not know how to interact. I didn't know what sarcasm was. I got chewed up and spit out, and it was
like, "You're
so
rude."
important for me. I really did, because I was like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, but that's where I discovered, you know, all the
I still don't have style though. I feel like I walk into the mall or the store and I'm like, what's on the mannequin? in my size. Thank you, because I loved uniforms.
I
I
got
don't have to think about anything. You know, it's just
I
you
got
just have 3 options.
I got introduced to a store called
Huh.
Bonobos.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
This is not sponsored, but everything in his closet is bonobos.
Yeah, it's so simple. They have a little stylist. They pick
Uh-huh.
out a couple of outfits.
Okay.
And you good. You just buy them.
No, I don't
They
know.
have a women's line?
No, they're a men's shop.
Oh, see.
Listen, there's not a lot of those, so you gotta give them credit. You know, where credit's due. But
No, but
Um,
going back to the conversation, I think that's how I want to raise my kids. I want to, like, when they're like 10 to 12 years old, 13, they have to go get a little side hustle.
oh yeah, if you give them
Honestly.
too much and they don't work for it,
True.
they're not gonna appreciate it. It is what it is.
True.
Because I think that's like kind of the foundation of what made you who you are today, right?
For sure. Being able to understand the numbers, understanding the bigger picture of things, has really helped out in the jobs that I've had. I've been really fortunate. I haven't had like a ton of jobs. You know, I worked for my dad for quite a while until like I wound up moving out. But I did a car dealership for a little bit, working in the finance, the buy here, pay here type of a thing. It was a little bit too much drama for me, so I skedaddled out of that. And then I found myself at a dental lab, doing their accounts payable, accounts receivable, doing payroll. When I got there, everything was like manual, you know, literal payroll of like Jose, single, one dependent. Deduct this
Oh, no,
much.
that's-
Oh
that's too
no,
much work.
I was
That's
like,
way too much
that's not
work."
happening. I said, you need to give me $200 for QuickBooks. Give me another $200 for which QuickBooks isn't sponsoring this either.
Mm-mm.
So that should be something you should get some money out of that. 'Cause they're amazing. And I told him, I said, I need you to give me this for me to be able to do my job like effectively. I'm not going to spend payroll doing a whole day. And so they ran my books with the old accountant's books as we were doing the transition to make sure that QuickBooks was doing it correctly. And when they realized it was, I was doing payroll for the whole company in like about 2 hours, I would say, whereas I used to take the other guy about a day, you know, all day doing payroll. And so it was nice being able to use those skills into the jobs that I was at. I was there for almost 5 years. We were doing like 5-6 companies that they had. It was nice. And then from there, I interviewed with the company that I'm at now. I knew a girl that was working there at the time. I went to the interview. I thought, like, yeah, he loves me. This is great. And then he never called me back.
And
I
you
was
interviewed
like,
for what exactly? What
I
did you
interviewed
interview
again for like an accounting position of under, you know, doing like their bookkeeping, data entry type of a thing. And what was funny was, I mean, he knew that I knew QuickBooks, my boss, because the girl that was working for him at the time would sometimes call me at about like 6:30 when they were trying to wrap up books. And I'm at home cooking. Like, she could hear me cooking. She'd be like, hey, how do I do this in QuickBooks? I'm like, okay, no, you got to go to reports, file, customize, move.
You
Because I have
memorize
it in my mind.
Oh my god!
Like, I know QuickBooks. Like, when I say that, yes, I'm familiar with it since 90. Like, I know what I'm talking about. So when I went to interview, I was like, this is a straight shot.
You're
Like,
like, I got this
obviously,
in the
yeah, you
bag.
know me. Hey, it's what's up. And he never called me back. And I was so bummed. I was like, you know, it's not a big deal. Went back to work still at my current job or at the dental lab. And then he called me a year later out of the blue, picked up. I was like, hello. And he was like, hey, I know you've been waiting for my call. We're ready for you.
And
And
this
I was
guy's,
like-
he's kind of a big deal in Houston, right? This guy, he's like a big business guy.
He's got
right?
his stuff going on for
Because
sure.
I can imagine, like, okay, you show up and you're like, okay, I think I got this in the bag. This, you know, big guy, like, never calls you back.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, okay, like, oh, whatever. And then he randomly, 1 year later,
1 year
imagine
later
getting a
calls.
no email, nothing, just like,
Nothing.
picks up the phone.
And what's wild was I was having lunch with one of my other coworkers, which was actually leaving the dental lab. She had just gotten a really good opportunity. And she was like, I got to go, you know? So we were having lunch, and the whole theme of her lunch was to tell me, like, what are you doing? Like, I feel like you've already reached your glass ceiling. You need to start looking at other opportunities. I'm just like, but I'm comfortable. Like, it's fun. And that's the day I get the call. And I was like, who is this? And, like, he says who he is. And I was like, oh, my God, yeah. So I said, well, let me go back and interview and see, you know, what's up. Like, if it's going to be for the same position. And so sure enough, we scheduled the interview, went back to his office, looked at the books, and I was like, you know, we should do this, we should do that. You know, this isn't really, you know, reporting well.
You had a more interactive interview. He
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
opened up and showed you the books.
Yeah, because I told him, I said if you want me to come, like, now this is my second interview basically. Like, if I'm really gonna commit to something, I want to see what it is, right? Because at the time I was working 10-15 minutes from my house. I'm not spending any money on gas. I'm not spending any money on tools. So I'm gonna have to go from Spring all the way down to Bel Air, Texas. I'm like, it has to be something that is gonna
Worth it.
makes me some money, make it worth it. And I want to see what it is that I'm getting into, right? Because my personality is I like excelling at what I do, and nothing frustrates me more.
I can testify to that 100%. Like, no cap.
Nothing frustrates me more than feeling like I don't know what's going on, or feeling like this project is too big for me, and I just didn't want to commit myself to something that I felt like I was going to fail in. And so I looked at everything and I told him what I thought. And he was like, numbers wise, where are you? And if he sees this, he's going to be like, I knew it. But I totally finagled my way into some extra cash because I remembered what I had asked for back then. And I said, I had asked for what I had back then plus some. And I told him, I also calculated how much it's going to be in gas. And I calculated how much it's going to cost me in tolls. And I need you to add that to my base salary. And then I need you to add on top of that.
This was a
because
full
I'm not going
negotiation.
to come down. And he just looked at me and he was like, so this is what you're making now? And I said, yes. I says, and then I had to add on, I think it was like another 5 and another 3 from like gas and tolls. I said, and then you have to add something else because I'm not going to basically get my same pay and then be driving an hour down.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but will you stay? Like, okay, fine, you're telling me all of this, but it is going to be an hour drive. Like, what kind of, and I said, as long as I'm making money and as long as I'm challenged and I enjoy what I do, I will be here for as long as it is. That's what I enjoy. And I feel like it's gotten monotonous at my job. I'm not learning anything else. I need a new challenge. I think this would be a perfect fit, but I want some cash. And he sat there and I said, okay, here, what do you think? And I said, yes. Of course, I was really cool. I was just like, yeah, I guess this will do. This will be fine. But I walked out of there and I was like, this is it. First day, put in my 2 weeks and everything. My old bosses, they were really sad to go. When it was 3 partners, they were awesome. I absolutely loved working with these guys. Very family oriented. Really just looked after me like that. And one of them was super mad. When I told them, he stormed out of the room.
Really?
Jeez. So mad. And then he came back in the afternoon. He was like, you know what? It's a good opportunity. I'm sorry. He goes, but yeah, it's going to suck. And I was like, okay. And then the other one's like a really big teddy bear. And he said, it would be extremely selfish of us to try to make you stay.
So they didn't give you no counter offer?
No, they said, they had told me, they said, we'll match it. But when I showed them the whole package and I said, I'm going to get this and then I'm going to have this opportunity for a bonus package and I have opportunity for this, they said, you know what? You got to go. Like, we could probably try to match something for you, but you're basically going to reach that cap. And where you're going with the commercial real estate and everything else, he's like, you should go. You should go. And with full blessing. So first day, make it to the office at my new job. I'm all excited.
Little lunchbox and everything.
Yeah, my little lunchbox. And so he meets me there in the morning, and he's like, okay, he's on the phone. He's always on the phone, by the way. That was my first introduction of realizing this
That
man's
sounds
always on the phone.
familiar.
Yeah. And he goes, okay, we're going to go look at the properties that we have. I said, okay. Drove around to the different properties. At the time, we had some apartment complexes. We saw the townhomes, this building, Midtown, and then the building in Bel Air. Just, asking questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I was like, well, you should probably improve this. I noticed this over here that's decaying, whatever.
You added value right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
And did that come natural to you?
Yeah.
And it was okay, yeah.
Because so the critical eye of looking at building and maintenance stuff like that is going to come back to working at my dad's company of building maintenance and restoration and things like that. So my eyes already looking at stuff like, wow, that's not okay. Your waterproofing looks messed up. Your landscaping is here. Why do the shingles look like that? There's some graffiti back here.
You're the kind of person who's pretty honest, right? Some people would be in that position and be like, I don't want to say the right thing, the wrong thing. You're just like, no.
If you ask me for my opinion, what do I see that's wrong with the property? This is what I see. And we got in the car and he's like, I can't believe it. Like, you're here for 5 seconds and you're pointing out all these things. I was just like, well, it is what it is. Did the properties, went back to the office, picks up another call. He walks into the office and he goes, that's your office there. I said, okay, cool. And he walks away. And I just sat there in this really nice, big office. And I was like, what did I do? What am I doing? There's nobody here because it was just me, him, and like a receptionist at the time. And I was like, okay, and I'm like trying to like click around, got into the computer. Nobody's coming in, and I hear him on the phone. And I'm thinking, okay, eventually he's gonna like hang up and like come over,
and give me like an orientation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, this is where we're gonna start. Nothing. And then I just hear him get up out of his chair, hear him walking down the hall, and he peeps in and goes, "You good?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, cool. I'll see you tomorrow." And then leaves. When we interviewed, he had told me, he said, "I don't do well on training. Training isn't my forte. I will give you a big picture and I will tell you what it is that I want. And I need a team that can just do it. If you're not going to be self-sufficient, if you're not going to be able to work on your own, it's not going to work here." And I thought, okay, yeah, I get that. But at least I'm thinking I'm going to get some sort of direction. I did at that moment. I realized, oh my God, this is really this is it. So I had asked the receptionist some, general items like, hey, because they had the old accountant's stuff there. And I was like, can I clean this out? She was like, yeah, you can get rid of that. And so I thought, okay, well, let me look in the QuickBooks and see what's up. Looked at the books and I said, well, I'll start reconciling. That'll get me familiar with some of the vendors, see where money's going, make sure that the money that's going out is paying invoices that are entered. I found a lot of items, obviously, that were missing, overpayments to some vendors, but the previous accountant had to enter invoices in. So it was a lot of cleaning up, and it was a lot of fun. So I was tackling that, got into my niche. Now I know what's going on. I got everything together. And then, meanwhile, he's here with Central Square. At that time, we hadn't really finished the building. It's still kind of with permits, construction, things like that. We had a tenant that was moving in. We were getting behind schedule that he was also handling. His hands are in so much stuff, and I respect him immensely of how he can juggle all of that. And I just thought, oh yeah, let me help you out. Ordering some material, getting that. So ordered some material, then meeting with the client, going to the building to see how it is, etc. And then he's just like, wow, you do pretty well with managing projects. And I was like, oh yeah, no big deal.
Detail-oriented.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just another thing. And so then he pulls me into the office with one of the other property managers that handles residential. And he's like, okay, so I need you to help her understand some of the data entry and things like that, because it was a small little niche that she was doing at that time, to take on some additional stuff. He goes, and I want you to go to Midtown. And I was like, for what? This is my job. My job is data entry, accounts payable, payroll. No. And he said, no, I think that this would be really good for you. Learning how to deal with the property. Let's figure out the permits, problem
And you
solve.
had the experience from your dad's business.
Yeah, but that's maintenance. That has nothing to do with
Property
City of
management
Houston
of
permitting
commercial.
office and understanding plans and reading with architects and engineers and tenants and what? No, absolutely not. And by then I think I had been working with him for about maybe 8 months. So we had already developed kind of a nice little banter. And I don't know what possessed me, but I sat back in my chair and I folded my arms and I was like, this is absolute bullshit.
Word?
And he looked at me and he said, what? And I said, it is. You didn't hire me for this. I don't want to go there. I don't know what this is, because like I told you before, I don't like to fail, right? And I feel like you're putting me in this position that you think I'm going to excel in, but I don't have the confidence in myself. I do not want to go there. No, I'm not going. And he was like, okay, well, just give it 6 months. 6 months, we'll talk. If you absolutely hate it, then we'll chat.
So he heard absolutely not as a maybe.
Yeah.
As a trial.
Just try it out.
I like that. I like that.
Livid. I was livid. So, a good maybe 2-3 months passed. I got the other girl situated with what I was doing. And then he came over here to Midtown. And I don't even think it took me 6 months. He called me up and he was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's, I give a lot of credit to my lead maintenance that has helped me really understand, the construction aspects of things. My architect, my engineer that really took me under their wing that was like, okay, she really wants to understand the plans, reading things, understanding the keynotes, understanding the diagrams that are in things since we do the construction for tenants as a turnkey. They really helped me understand what it is that I'm doing that then has helped me speak with confidence when I have my tenants, because now I know what it is. I've seen the construction, and as my guys are doing it, they're explaining this is what this detail means, this is how this applies, this is what the Rayco frame does. I give them a lot of credit. I definitely could not be doing the type of projects and speaking with the clientele that I have now if it wasn't for them. And it would be really cool because sometimes I would catch errors with my engineer. He'd do some space plans for us, and I'd be looking at his plans. I'm like, hey, did you you forgot some emergency light fixtures? And he'd be like, no, I didn't. You pick it up. oh yeah, Julie, nice catch. I'm like, hey, you taught me too well.
Okay, well, now you have a lot of that experience under your belt, right? But when you
Mhm.
first started out, did you ever experience imposter syndrome?
Absolutely.
And how did you deal with it?
You know, it's again, I think I have to go back to giving credit to my staff.
Wait, before you answer the question, can you explain imposter syndrome a little bit, Emma or Juliet?
For
'Cause
me,
I don't
imposter
think-
syndrome is you're presenting as if you know what you're talking about, and you may know that you know that you're talking about, but you're like new in the industry and like you're an expert in the industry, and then I'm nervous that I might say something that's gonna make me look like an absolute fool.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
so-
ooh, am I
Okay,
really
okay,
a
okay.
fraud? Do I belong
Yeah,
here?
do I belong here?
Also? Yeah.
Yeah, am I worthy enough to be sitting and talking with these people? Like, this is crazy.
It often happens when you like rise to success really fast,
too
or maybe you
fast,
took
yeah.
a non-traditional route, so you
Mhm.
didn't come from the property
That makes
manager
sense.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did have a lot of that doing it. I remember one time, like right after I had moved into the building, you know, maybe like a good 2 months, 3 months, I had gone home and I was just bawling. Because I'm like, what am I doing? I don't understand this. And I just realized I have to rely on other people that are more capable, you know, in the sense of like understanding things, like my engineers and like my architects that can help me, you know, learn. Like, closed mouths never get fed. I'm never going to learn if I don't ask for help. And there's nothing wrong with
Preach it.
coming to my lead maintenance and saying, I don't know what's going on. You know, yes, I'm in this position of authority, and yes, you're supposed to listen to me, but help me.
I feel like we do that. I feel like we do that all the
You know, we
time.
We really do.
Because like sometimes we don't know what we're doing when it comes to a new field, and like for
Well,
example,
it's impossible to know everything, and it
Mhm.
really is
Absolutely.
hard when you're supposed to be a leader to,
Absolutely.
you know, to be like, hey, by the way, because your job is supposed to be people can trust you, they can rely on you, right? But there has to be that middle ground of you have to learn, you have to humble yourself, and then ask for help,
I don't
find
even-
resources.
yeah, I don't even say humble yourself. I think it's just understanding your limitations. Like today, I was like, Casey, if we boost up the light, would that fix the ISO issue? And she's like, technically, but this is a better way to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just understanding your limitations and to make the best product
Well, and
possible.
just having
For
a
sure.
really strong team around you makes a huge difference.
Absolutely huge difference, because when I came over here to the building, there was another lead maintenance guy that was in charge, and he was kind of like running the whole show with the building, but it wasn't really going as fast as it really should be. Big picture thinking wasn't really there, which is why I got brought in, and we butted heads a lot because he felt like, here comes this girl younger than me, has no idea what's going on, and you're gonna tell me how to do my job? Like, what is your problem, you know? And I told him, I said, obviously you do a good job, right? You've been doing this for a while. It's been going great, but now we need to go somewhere else, and I need your help to do it. Like, it doesn't have to bump heads, right? You can still manage the guys. I won't get involved in that, but we still need to have some sort of a communication. And it just wasn't it. And then he just quit on me mid job. But by then I had already learned enough.
She's
And
like,
so I called my boss and I was like, he quit, and he was freaking out. He's like, oh my God, we're never going to finish on time. And I said, yes, we're fine. You know, by then I've already understood some stuff. The number 2 in command of the lead maintenance was like, fine, I'll step up. You know, let's go ahead and do this. And he's had a fantastic attitude. Like I said, I give him massive props for helping me to get to where I am. And we've been a great team. We've been here this is going to be my 8th year. So it's 7 years pretty much working with him as my right hand when it comes to the maintenance and the build outs and things like that.
and you're still constantly
it's
improving the
great.
building, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, okay, I have to say this. Honestly, you know my favorite feature about Central Square?
Oh, and by the way, Central Square this is where our studio
This
is.
is
So
it.
we've become intimately familiar with this.
So if you guys want to lease a unit here, just mention Jose or the Adia Farm podcast, A Journey.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
No, but
He's like,
ser-
7 months
No.
free rent.
No, but it's actually been an amazing spot for us coming in from not knowing anything about Houston. We got so lucky. We got
Extremely
so
lucky.
lucky. And now we're in this place.
you know what I remember? I remember that first day, Julie walks out of the office, she's like, hey, you want to lease here? And I was like, yes. And then Micah took care of us, like, he'll help you. I was like, okay, say less.
Yeah, I always have like a nice little banter, like when people come in. Like, sometimes I'll have brokers that come with their clients, and you know we'll finish the tour and they'll be like, okay, well, I mean, we still have some more tours, you know, to do. And I'm like, oh, you don't need to do that. Or like before we're gonna do the tour, I'm like, yeah, but after we tour here, you're not gonna want to go anywhere else, you know. And so it's a nice little perk, I think, of leasing here, because the way that I do my property management or my style is more of, I work for my tenants,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is your home, this is your baby, this is where you're putting your business in, this is where you're growing. And when you have an issue, you want to be able to call somebody of, hey, I'm cold, hey, I'm hot, hey, I saw this leak or something, whatever it
We
might
need
be.
napkins
Granted, we
by
don't
the.
have that because we have a nice new building. But in case there's something there, janitorial didn't pick up my trash, you want to be able to text, call, and have somebody respond.
Super accessible. I've never had, never ever have I lived or worked in a commercial building where there's such an accessible staff.
Yeah. So my thing is like, all of my tenants have my cell phone number. Everybody's gonna be able to text me, call me whenever there's an issue.
And we got some cool stuff here. We have that new vending machines.
Yeah, the new vending
Love
But
machines.
vending
I have to say something, Julie. I have to
What?
confess something to you, right? So today, I went to grab a sandwich for the vending machine. By the way, the sandwich is phenomenal. But you know what I'm saying? But there was no like napkins or like utensils next to the microwave to like heat up the sandwich that I just bought.
This is a
We
ploy.
just got this vending machines installed like a week ago. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that we get this up there.
I'm just messing with you though.
But yeah, so we have the amenities. I like to put that type of management style of like an open door policy where my tenants can just come in, sit down, chit chat, have a concerned voice that. And my staff is also pretty proactive on like seeing things or whatever, and then they'll come to me and say, "Hey, I think we should improve, X, Y, and Z. I think that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and implement that." But yeah, we're always looking for ways to improve. And whenever we do have tours, and I tell that to the prospects, they're always impressed because normally commercial real estate, it can seem very cold, when I've dealt with other brokers, it seems very cold. It's very 9 to 5, and if you have an issue, like, I really don't care. I'll see you on Monday. And my thing is like, that's not going to help for tenant retention, right? Tenants want to feel like I matter here. If I'm leasing 300 square feet or I have a full floor, I still matter. I'm still paying rent. And that's been my approach for everything. Fortunately, I haven't lost any tenants just because they're like, you know what, I hate it here. Maintenance is terrible. Julie is whatever. I haven't lost that. If anything, they wind up always renewing or they wind up expanding and growing with us like you guys did. So I feel like that speaks volumes to our style that we have here.
So we did a client. So we have another client that actually, rents a unit here, and she was telling us that one of her favorite features about this place, it was you. How you took the time out of your busy schedule to explain to her comps to say, hey, you actually can afford this, and how to scale you business with this. So I don't think a lot of commercial leasing companies or agents will actually have those in-depth conversations with you.
They don't take the time. They're not
Yeah.
as personal. No.
Yeah, like I said, I've not to knock my colleagues, but I have noticed that in dealings with them or how they talk about their tenants. I remember one time I went to like this little mixer. It was a ton of other commercial agents, property managers that were there, and we were having like a little, mixer orders, whatever. And my phone was like dinging, and I was responding, and it would ding, and I'd respond. And one of the girls was like, "What is going on with your phone? Like, oh, you so popular?" I said, "No." I said, "This is my work phone. These are my tenants." And she's like, "Oh, absolutely not. Like, after 5, there's no way." And I'm just thinking,
How do
what's
you
your
build
occupancy
long-term-
like?
Yeah, how do you build-
exactly.
No, it's the
Okay.
exact same. Well, it's the same for us. So as a marketing business, we have clients of all shapes and sizes, and something that we're always talking about is sometimes there's a crisis, and it can happen on a weekend, it can happen on a night, and it can have nothing to do with us. We've had clients that get a bad review and they're panicking. They're like, this actually happened to me. I was visiting a dear friend in Miami this weekend, and it was so good to get the rest and relaxation. But you know what? Like, at the end of the day, I remember I woke up early one morning and we got a text from a client, and she was like, she cares. All of the people we work with care so much about their businesses, right? And she was like, I just don't know how to respond. I just don't know what to do. This has been so hard. And I sat and I worked with her, and we went through like 4 or 5 iterations of responses to figure out not only for dealing with that one situation, but everyone is going to see that review, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to see, that matters.
They see how you respond to the review too.
Exactly. So just, taking time to do things like that. You have to obviously set boundaries with, your tenants, with our clients, but at the end of the day, showing them that relationship is more important than, it's, 5 p.m. or, I'm out of the office or something like that, especially as if you're in leadership is kind of critical.
I mean, we're doing the same thing too. Like, think about it. I mean, we are the same thing, but we swap all our emails from like a support email to like now my personal email, so clients can directly communicate with me.
Even though that support email went directly to us, we realized.
But it feels different, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm just emailing like this abyss of where the emails go, you know, and who knows who's gonna. No, I know that I'm emailing Emma. I know that I'm emailing Jose, and you have like that personal relationship with your clients. I think it definitely helps. We used to have that. We used to use admin. And we got rid of that. Michael started using his own email, and then I just email from my own. But tenants, they really like that. Or even sometimes, like at the other building that I'm now managing, we have an email for that one. You know, it's 5555 WLS, you know, at the company. But when the tenants know that I'm the one that's kind of dealing with them, instead of emailing the email that they should be, they still email it directly to me. I'm like, that's fine, you know. So it's definitely better when you're able to really have those relationships with them. And then I like it because, like, for you, if we were to develop, you know, or we have, but when you develop a good relationship with your tenant, then they take that and they refer you to their friends, you know. They're like, oh my god, you need to come lease here because Juliet's actually going to take care of you, or they're going to be able to, you know, fit you in. And, you know, I'll do what I can, like on late fees and things like that for some of my tenants. And, you know, I understand sometimes it's like, hey, I've seen all these clients today, I haven't had a chance to go to the bank, I'm going to be there, you know, at 5:05. That's fine, like I'll wait for you, like it's not a big deal. I'm not like a super stickler on things. And so those are items that they also appreciate because, you know, I could be. You know, it's 5. It's end of the day. It's 5:01. It's late. You know,
some people, a lot of people are like that.
The mortgage, you got to pay your mortgage by the 1st. If not, it's a late fee.
Like, I don't know if you've ever had to call the IRS, any business owners out there, but you could be on hold for 3 hours, but 4 p.m. comes.
They drop the call.
Your call. They drop it, and you're just like, okay.
That recently just happened to me. I was so mad. I was so mad.
Okay, so here's a question. Property management, for those of you that know, can be a little sticky sometimes. You know, not everyone can be happy. Sometimes they're, you know, you're the one that people, you're like the goalie. At the end of the day, people come to for good or bad or whatever. I want to know what your advice is, not only coming from such a young age, stepping into this leadership position from a non-traditional, you know, background, but also being a young woman. And you've already mentioned it once during this interview, how that can, you know, you can get that condescending, whether it's people in maintenance, whether it's people, you know, who they just think they know better, right? Yeah. So I want to know, what's your advice to any, like, young women out there that are either, you know, in a position of leadership or that kind of thing? How do you handle?
I say know what you know, also know your boundaries, right? I feel like if this is the position that you're trying to get into, try to maximize your learning as much as you can. That way when you're speaking, you're able to speak with authority. You're able to speak knowing what it is. Somebody can't come and try to sway you or try to, you know, BS you around with something, and then you're like, oh, I'm not really sure. Okay, well, maybe that is. And then you just look like a fool in front of everybody else. Really understanding how to navigate is what it is. So, like, for example, one of my biggest jobs that I've done so far was with the crime lab for the city of Houston. City of Houston moved over into 500 Jefferson. The crime lab was a full floor. It's about 20-some thousand square feet. A bio lab. Never done a bio lab in my life. 2 levels of like admin office. They have a whole full-on shooting range, which was my first shooting range that I ever did.
Inside the office?
Inside. Well, so it's on different levels. So the shooting range is in the basement. They have the bio lab. Cool. They have ballistics. Yeah. And so it's a huge project. You know, this is millions of dollars.
Awesome. Yeah. Like, I've watched all the NCIS, all that, whatever.
It was all of that. The hoods and you know, exhaust. It was crazy. And so that meeting, it was a weekly construction meeting, and I had, like, you know, the CFO, some of the main guys, and then like a department head from all of their departments. I had the building owner, the building owner's right hand, the engineer, the architect, and then the client had their own architect that would walk the premises to make sure that was building it correctly. It's a lot of people. I showed up for the first meeting where it comes to feeling imposter syndrome or being able to own what you're talking about. Is when I went there and they said, okay, well, who's going to be handling this project? And, you know, we have that it's going to be this person, which is my boss. And I said, well, you know, he's not going to be here. It's going to be me. And they looked at me and they said, no, but we need to talk to the person who's going to be in charge. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to be running point on this project. And, you know, the main guy was like, oh, this is ridiculous. You know, you're a woman. Wow. You're a woman of color. You're young. And there's absolutely no way they were going to hand over millions of dollars. Fortunately, my architect piped up. He's a white, middle-aged man and said, I've been working with Juliet for the past few years. She does a phenomenal job on her projects. We've always been able to do them on time and at the budget, if not under the budget. I think that she's going to be able to handle this just fantastically. And the guy was like, well, I guess we'll see. For the next 2-3 meetings, they would still ask for him. But then I realized, you know what? Now I'm really going to be on my P's and Q's. Now it's on. It's on. So for young girls coming into or young women, it's, it sucks, right? Because it's like we have to prove ourselves so much more. I feel like our male counterparts get, raises and promotions based on, I think they have potential. And then like for women, it's like you have to like show like, oh my God, like I can do this. Can you please give me this promotion? Yeah. But being able to just exude that impresses so much, and then you normally always have to say so much less at a later date. So when I started coming in, I came in with my plans and I had everything set. This is your construction schedule. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're at. This is what I need from you. You still haven't given me this. I cannot proceed on this because your architect hasn't done this. And now I'm going to put it on you. You're trying to put this on me. It's on you. You need to deliver these items to me. And every week it was like that. I got this. You still haven't done this, to move the project along. And I was just nailing it. And I could feel that they were starting to like, kind of like ease into it week after week after week. And then I messed up. I didn't catch one detail on the framing of something. And their architect also didn't catch it either. But he was kind of being a little bit of a pain because if he saw it, he should have brought it up way back when until like waiting until the end. But they did. They brought it up and we had our meeting. And at the end of the meeting, the gentleman said, okay, we need to address the email that got sent out. It looks like you didn't do what was supposed to be done on this little detail of the framing. I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Because I went in there and I was thinking, well, maybe I could this for the I said, you know what? Honesty is the best policy. I messed up. It's on me. Yeah, my framers probably should have done this. Yeah, my sheetrockers probably should have picked it up. But at the end of the day, it's my name. It is what it is. I messed up. I said I didn't catch it.
And you took ownership.
I took ownership. I said it is what it is. I said, and honestly, I said it's definitely my fault. I said, now is the part needed? Is it a crucial part of the building structure? No, because of X. Yes, if you have that in there, it might give you this and that. But are you ever going to need it? No. Is it necessary? No. Is the structural integrity fine? Yes. Does it impede, how it's going to look? No. If you want me to go back and fix it, I will absolutely do it. I just want to let you know that is it necessary? Absolutely not. I feel like that detail could also be an over-engineering part, but I'll let you decide if you'd like to, whatever you want to do. And there was silence.
Yeah.
And the guy looks at the plans and he leans in and he says, so you're not perfect.
Dang.
And I said, I am not. Ever since then, it was smooth sailing. They absolutely loved me. We finished the project. We did the grand opening. The mayor showed up and everything, and he sent a beautiful letter of recommendation about how well I did with the project, how he would suggest our company for everything, just really nice for my team. But it is difficult for ladies and women when you're coming into a leadership role, when you're in an industry where it is heavily male dominated, for you to have to really understand what it is that you're doing, really educate yourself so nobody can try to finesse you on anything, and you get respected a little bit more. From those that are genuine, they will respect you a little bit more. Yes, you will come in seeming a little bit as a threat. You're definitely going to be a challenge. It's out of the norm. But for the genuine people that are in the industry, they're going to want to work with you. They're going to be
100%.
like, man, that's a badass. Like, yeah, we want her on our team, So I just suggest own your industry, learn as much as you can, lean on the ones that can mentor you, that can help you out, give you some information, whether it's maintenance and janitorial, whether it's an engineer that you can lean on to. It can definitely take you to better heights.
I want to clarify something. You work for one employer, but you wear multiple different hats. So you don't just do property management.
I just got my official title on my email, I think last year. So, because it's like, yeah, like I'll do like the bookkeeping. Well, now I really just manage my building. I'm managing my books, as a property manager, dealing with tenants, their invoices, payments, looking at their rent roll, dealing with the budgets. In this building, since we do tenant improvements and tenant build outs. I have a lot of core and shell, so I'm dealing with City of Houston with the planning, the permitting, my architects, my engineers reading the plans. Hey, yes, we can do this. No, that's not available. Doing edits, dealing with the construction of, the subs that are coming in, firing subs when they don't do what they want, what I tell them to do. And it's nice for my tenants, I think, too, of us being able to do everything in house because they're not dealing with a ton of people. Right? They come into my office, they do the tour either with me or some of my staff, and it's the same face that they see at their space planning. It's the same face that they're seeing when they come to tour. It's the same face that's handing them the keys, and then it's the same face when you pay me rent. So it's a nice relationship because they're able to see, wow, she actually cares about things. When they notice that maybe a little detail isn't going to work too well, or I'll have a suggestion for them mid construction. Hey, you know what, you mentioned this, but did you capture that? It helps them appreciate it a little bit more.
So did you say your title?
My title now is Senior Project Manager.
Okay.
I don't know
really
what
broad,
it's very
because you
broad.
could be on all sorts of projects all over Houston.
It's very broad, but yeah, we had
You fly too. You don't stay in Houston.
I don't stay in Houston.
Ooh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I had gotten some projects in South Carolina. I was flying out there for quite a bit. But yeah, I pretty much just go where there's an issue. My boss calls me and says, hey, I need this done. And I'm like, okay, I go. So right now I'm not flying anymore. I'm going to Louisiana. So I have a women's shelter that we're doing a complete rehab on. We have a car dealership that we're finishing up. Then I have my building here in Midtown. And I have my building in Bel Air that I manage.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
But it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I'm going on 8 years, and honestly, I don't see myself going.
Remember at the beginning of this conversation, you said you admire that your boss can handle multiple different things. You didn't know how he actually does it. You're doing the same thing.
I know, but I just this is where the imposter syndrome comes in, right? I'm like, yeah, I know I'm handling all this, but like on what scale? But yeah, it is fun. Like I said, I do respect him a ton to see how he can keep everything in his mind with all of the other project managers that he has, the rest of the projects that he's doing, and to still remember, things. It's wild. But yeah, I do try to imitate him as much as I can.
Okay, so you're ready for the hard questions, right?
Hard questions. Let's go.
All right, so
Rapid fire.
how do you guys brand yourself?
How do we what?
Brand yourself.
How do we brand ourselves?
Yeah, you got a marketing team. What is your messaging? What is your slogan?
Like as a commercial property, right? So like how does because your job is to get tenants and also to keep them happy. So what does that look like?
It's expensive. So like the biggest one of the biggest expenses obviously is going to be like CoStar and LoopNet. A lot of brokers use those. They love the pictures and things like that. The next thing obviously would be our website, which we just revamped with none other than
The Idea Farm.
There we go. Shameless plug. So things like that definitely help because a lot of tenants, if they don't have representation, they're coming and they're looking online. They're just Googling office space Houston, office space Midtown. And having something that's interactive, that's nice and fresh, definitely brings them in because we'll have calls. Hey, we saw this on your website. Is this space available? Yes, they'll come in. We do some stuff on like Instagram. We've been starting that with our social media, and we've gotten a few leads from there, so that's cool. But it comes back to also the team following up, right? Because I can have all the advertisement in the world, and then I have all these leads that are coming in, and then nothing happens with the leads. So it's having those weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings with my team. Where are we? What are the new leads that came in? What are their issues? Why are they not leasing with us? Sometimes we have the lead and then they just don't come to fruition. They're not signing. Why? Oh, well, they decided to go to the Woodlands. Okay, well, I can't compete. But, if they're saying, oh, no, they decided to lease down the street. Okay, why didn't we capture that? What is it that we don't have that the other building had that got that? Let's go ahead. How can we implement that here? Because I'm not going to lose a lead, right? You're not going to lose a lead because they had a vending machine. Well, I'm gonna have 4 or 5 of them on mine,
They
I might lose it because of napkins, right? I gotta get the napkins. But it's things like that of having those meetings, of figuring out to make sure that they come, they like it, price is good, lease. There should be no reason why you're going to go somewhere else because the customer service isn't going to be beat. The pricing isn't going to be beat. Your amenities aren't going to be beat unless you want to have, the connection into downtown of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I can't do that, right? I can't excavate it for you, but besides that, you're going to get a really good deal.
No, I think for us, we love we pretty much exclusively work with businesses that there's like a passion and drive with the people involved that they really, really care. We do occasionally people, businesses approach us and pretty early on in the initial meeting or two, we'll find out that they're not super enthusiastic about where they're going. They're not really passionate about fixing things. And the thing is, you can, what's the saying? You can paint a pig, but it's still a pig, that kind of thing, right? So we could do the most amazing content. We could put together the most beautiful website, right? But then if someone calls and the customer service sucks, right? If they don't care about, all these things, it's like, that's not going to matter. So we are really intentional. We only want to surround ourselves with and work with businesses that are like what you guys do. You really care about the whole process all the way through.
Not even that. Like, remember when we first moved in, we came to Houston on a Sunday, and Michael got out of bed to open the door for us.
And I got on him for that too, because I was like, Michael, you got to have boundaries. Okay, Saturday, okay, fine, you're out and about on a Saturday, but on a Sunday you went.
We were in desperation because we had flown here. For those of you that don't know the story, we had flown here under the impression we had a realtor, and we had been looking at the space and we were probably going to lease it. We just wanted to check it out in person right before. We get there. She's not there. She ghosts us for the tour. We're like, that's kind of weird. Maybe something came up. We go through. We're like, this is going to work. In mind,
she sent us paperwork. We're like in the process of about to sign the lease.
Yeah, we literally were just like, okay, we'll just like double check, and then we can also like check around for, residential places to live, whatever.
Yeah.
So our team, we get back in the car after the tour and we realized we had a call from her, and she had said, oh yeah, by the way, I leased the property.
Oh, nice.
And we were like, even though you knew we're coming here today and like literally just touring it. So then we look at each other and we're like, our flights leave in 24 hours. It was like 5 p.m. on Saturday.
I think it was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, it was like 5 p.m. on Saturday, and by like 5 p.m. on Sunday, we'd be flying out. And we were like, oh, crap. So next thing you know, we're calling people. We're trying to figure it out. We're Googling,
and nobody's picking up at that.
No one
Michael
was
did.
picking up.
Michael did.
Michael did.
Central Squarewood.
Yeah, and so it just, at the end of the day, it comes full circle because we were like, whoa, not only we were able to see a few other places, and this just blew it out of the water, right?
I think it was the ability to grow with the building.
Yeah.
I think that was for me, it was the best part. Because
I agree.
We were in the 15th floor, very small unit.
Very small space, yeah. Yeah.
And it can be hard when you're making a leap as, a business of any size, when you're jumping into, okay, we're going to, upscale, or we're not sure what the next year or two has. So we are very ambitious. We had big growth plans, but we needed to see how things shook out, and I didn't want to move to an entirely new city, rent an entire, a massive place, and then not be able to fill that out. And it was so cool to be able to work with you all, because it was made very clear early on that test it out, see how you guys like the space, and if you want to grow, we can customize something. So the studio that we're shooting in right now, we were able to come here, figure out our needs, how much space we needed, what we wanted to build out, and then
knock this wall down. I was like, dying.
No. It was like we were gonna get another unit, and Juliet saw the unit. She's like, "What are you gonna do with the space?" I'm like, "We're gonna build a set for a podcast,
Yeah,
have
exactly.
and have a couple offices."
Nope.
No, this doesn't work for you. Come over, I'm gonna show you something."
What's crazy, like that whole modular space came about because of COVID, right? So we hit really hard. We were leasing like crazy these huge floor plans, because that's the model that's always been.
Call centers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the call center, you have
the corporate executive suites.
The corporate executive suites where they want 8, 9, 10,000 square feet. They have all their cubicles, their teams, conference rooms, huddle rooms, phone rooms, wellness rooms, which is the newest thing, right? For the mothers, which I think is awesome. So we had a lot of that, and then COVID came, and then all the companies realized, oh my God, we don't need 10,000 square feet.
Especially if no one's coming to the office.
Nobody's coming to the office.
Pandemic.
And so now I have all this office space, and I'm like, what are we going to do? And so I was talking with one of my architects at the time, and he was like, hey, I have another client. He's feeling the same thing. He's thinking about doing modular spaces. And I said, ooh, that sounds good. I said, send me his info. So I went, met with him, and I said, hey, obviously I'm looking to compete, right? But I want to check it out. He has some really cool ideas. He said, yeah, sure, let's go. And he showed it how it goes, and you have the interior corridor, you have your main corridor, and then you have a little room, which is going to be your reception, and then you have an interior corridor that wraps everything around. So then you just divide, right? You build out everything, and then you just say, okay, you want these 2 rooms? I'll make 2 little 5-foot demising walls. You want 4 rooms? Okay, cool. I'll just move the demising wall over. But it's pretty much set to go. You just have to make, a little modification to it. And I was like, this is genius, because we would have small entrepreneurs that come in and they said, yeah, we love this building. We want to be here, but I can't afford 8,000 square feet. I can afford 500,000.
And then what are you going to do with it? I don't
Yeah,
wanna
exactly.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to have all this space for what? Yeah.
And it worked perfectly. I said, you know what? I called my boss and I said, I think this is going to be an amazing idea. We have a vacant floor on 3. I want to build it out. And he was
that's
like,
where we have our. So we
that's
actually
where we have
have
our studio.
we have a studio on 3 that's for the mixing, like the audio. We
Mhm.
needed like a dead room, and yeah, it's full of these tiny little, and it works.
it works perfect.
Yeah.
It works perfect. And I pitched the idea to him, and he was like, okay, go spend the money. And I was like, all right. Built it out. We were pre-leasing
The
before we were
level
even
of trust
done.
right there.
The level of trust.
Ooh,
The
I
level
love
of
that,
trust.
though, that you were pre-leasing.
Yeah, pre-leasing. We had stuff in frames. Just chalk on the floor.
And people were like that.
They were like,
that.
yes, I like
yeah.
this. No, don't make that wall here. I want this here. Pre-leased it. We only had maybe like 6 or 4 spaces or so left by the time we were done construction. And my boss was
Wow.
like, that is insane. I said, I'm going to do it on 14 and 15. He was like, do it. Did on 14 and 15, same thing. We had one of the construction companies that had came when I was, just chalking the floor, and I said, hey, this is going to go fast. We're pre-leasing. And he was like, yeah, we'll see. Called him back like 2 weeks later. I said, hey, walls are up. I have interest. Do you want it? And he was like, what do you mean walls are up? He came over. He said, oh, my God, you guys aren't playing. I said, do you want it or you don't want it? He said, yes, I want it.
Juliet did
I
not
said,
mess her
"Fine."
down.
I did not. And the one that I wanted that one, I moved him to the other corner. They wanted the northwest, but he was like, fine. So now I have the 2 construction companies. And now that we're pretty much done with 14 and 15, now I'm doing the same thing on 8. And it's just going like crazy. I love being able to kind of be a hub also for the small businesses, lawyers, architects, the financial groups that marketing firms, where it's like I'm small, but I'm still a good established business, and I want to have a nice space. Like, nice spaces shouldn't just be for the big conglomerates of the companies, and then these nice professional offices are reduced to like C buildings or B buildings.
Especially because nowadays there's a lot of business. There's a huge business trend towards I want to keep my business small on purpose. Like having a boutique team where you can, work with the top of the top. But it's like I don't need, I don't want a giant staff of people because I want to manage the control.
Mm-hmm.
I want the quality to be so good, and that's how it is for us.
And impressions matter, right? When you're meeting your new clients, whether you're small or you're large, when you're meeting your clients, you want to meet in a space that they also walk in and they say, okay, this is nice.
I'm going to take you seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll take you seriously, versus walking into a Class C and then the ceiling tiles match and then, the tiles looking kind of crazy on the floor. They go into the restrooms, which I think is the biggest thing if you guys are leasing a space.
I loved the
Check the
restrooms here.
restrooms.
No, that's
they got
so
a fancy
true.
little hand
fancy,
dryer.
yeah.
No. But like it matters because you know
Restrooms
what?
matter.
My very first day, that was my first comment was, "Ooh, the restrooms are nice."
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
because
it's the whole place is like feels so well maintained. It feels so upscale.
Yeah.
And it's like good.
And the
because that's
constant
level that we're
improvements.
at.
that's the level
And the
you
constant
want.
improvements, like we got the new water fountain that has like now you can fill
The
your
bottle fillers.
bottle
yeah.
fillers. That's new.
Yeah.
That's there a
You
couple months
gotta,
ago.
you gotta
Every day
upgrade over
there's
the
something
time.
new here.
Yeah, because if you'll hear tenants are like, yeah, I like the water filter, but then I have my bottle and everything. So okay, fine. Put $600 in it, and then everybody
We're gonna
loves you.
use
You're like,
it.
okay,
Oh,
cool.
we're gonna use
So
it. Yeah.
we're trying to go green. That's our thing.
With
That's
some
why you don't have
napkins.
napkins. No, but seriously, I think it's good to see the trends, see where things go. Cater to the clients that you can, which we have done on those different levels of the mini suites, and seeing the clients grow. I think my biggest pride of one of my current tenants, if any of my other tenants see it, I still love you guys, but I would have to give a big shout out to Leanne. Having her come in, leasing that 300 square feet and being nervous.
She was on our podcast.
Leanne was actually on the podcast. So for anyone watching, if you haven't seen that episode, go check it out. She's another incredible female entrepreneur. Yeah. A lot to learn from.
She was like within the year doubling space, and it was funny because like her husband, they came the first time and he was like, I don't know, babe, like this is lie, she's like, no, I can do this. And they came back again when she was doubling the space, and she had actually looked before she doubled the space at the first floor, and he was like, there's no way that you're going from 300 square feet to like, no. And then they did the double of the space, and then when they came back to look at the bottom, I said, so now what? He's like, I should have just let her do the one at the bottom to begin with. but it's really cool to see another lady in her field dominate it and then grow and then kind of feeling like you're a part of that, of like being like, hey, I got this for you, or yeah, we can customize
Her
it.
unit is an example of that right now. She was telling me that she's working on putting a shower system in there.
Yeah.
So that's like it's constantly
we met
improving.
yesterday. She was like, "Hey, Julie, I need a shower," and I was like, "Bet, let's go down there and see how we're gonna do this." So yeah, I definitely like being there for the tenants, of figuring out how to make it their home, right? Because that's the only thing that makes us successful. That's the only thing that makes me successful at my job, is if I'm retaining my tenants. We don't make money when the tenant comes in and we have to prep the space for you, and then you decide after 3 years, you know what, your manager sucks, I'm leaving. Then we have to reconfigure the space for somebody else. We normally, the building is going to make money when you renew. When you renew is when we start recouping all the money back that we've already invested in it, and now it's like, okay, cool. So my goal obviously is to have as much tenant retention as I can, make sure that the building stays full, and the only way we make sure that you guys stay is if you like it.
That's so true.
So I take it very seriously. You know, when tenants come down, they say, hey, you know, I saw this, or I didn't like this, or I'd like to see this improvement. And it's like, okay, let's figure out how we can put that in for the, for this quarter, next quarter. Let me figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like with your role, you get to interact with a ton of different businesses, business owners all throughout Houston.
Yeah.
And you say we're the favorite, right?
No,
right after Leanne. Right there, Leanne.
No, but so I'm totally new to Houston, and we moved, just like a few months ago. And so I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on Houston as like a hub for business or entrepreneurship, because before moving here, we didn't know very much about it. And I feel like a lot of times people nag Houston like crazy. Like, why are you in Houston? Why not Austin? Why are you in Texas? Like, whatever it may be. So what's your perspective, like being here as long as you've been?
I think Houston really caters a lot to small businesses. We have so many like pop-up shops that happen, small businesses that network with each other. Just groups, especially like with Bounce Back on my first floor, they're constantly doing events and bringing in other small businesses, whether they're resale, boutiques, jewelry, to try to promote everybody. I feel like Houston's very I can win and you can win too, versus I'm winning, go over there so I can keep winning. You know what I mean? I feel like Houston has that really nice vibe of wanting to help their neighbor, of us all being able to grow and be really good, because when you have that, you never know when it's going to come full circle. Right? Like, I can help you out, and maybe it might not happen within a year. Maybe 2 years from now, you're going to come back and say, oh, you know what? I have this lead, or I have somebody that you can grow with your business. And so I really like that about Houston. Granted, I've been living in Houston for most of my adult life, so this is pretty much all I know. But I like what I see. I like the referrals. And I say that also of seeing the referrals that my tenants do within themselves, and sometimes within the same industry, right? We'll have a makeup artist that's in here, and she'll say, hey, my other friend's a makeup artist, and I want her here. She knows that by bringing her friend is also going to be a competition, having her on the same floor, having her in the same building, but they know her being here is going to make her just as successful as me. We're in a central location for her to be able to grow her clientele. So that energy is really nice in Houston.
Heck yeah.
And the restaurants are phenomenal.
Restaurants are phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Gloria's
phenomenal.
still my favorite. Gloria is my favorite.
Gloria's is good. Gloria's is good. Yeah, food is impeccable. Mexican food down here is
No, can we talk about this for a second? Like, seriously.
Seriously.
The price for the meals you get and the quality of the food
That
is so cheap.
True. Okay, so I used to live in New York City. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Nashville. Like, some amazing food cities, right?
But they're expensive.
They are. They are expensive.
When I was in New York, I paid almost $30 for a slice of cheesecake.
Yeah.
Best cheesecake I ever had in my life. No lie. But $30.
Yeah.
For Gloria's, I get a full meal.
and
$15.
And there are tons of mom and pop. Like, there's restaurants from every walk of life, all over the world. I'm a huge traveler, big foodie, right? But also, because the competition's so big, or because Houstonians like really care about the atmosphere, it's not just good food, hole in the wall places. You're talking like the nicest atmosphere, these restaurants are beautiful.
Even coffee shops. I see some coffee shops, they're like tailored.
Yeah,
to the vibe.
They're becoming, I think, even more eclectic, because everybody, with social media and wanting to take pictures, it's like, this is an Instagram worthy place for you to be able to take, nice, backgrounds and whatnot.
But the result is you have like amazing quality food,
do.
amazing atmosphere, and it's like, oh, I live in this place now that's so diverse and so vibrant, and it feels like this giant hidden gem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the number of restaurants, when I first moved here, I'm like, okay, some have
In
to
just your zip code, like just your neighborhood, what
They're-
was it? Like over 360, 80, 380, 400?
yeah, well, it was a crazy number.
Because we talked about it. It was like, if I went to a restaurant every
Every
single
single
day, I still couldn't go to all the restaurants in my neighborhood
Yeah.
in a year.
But that's my point. I assumed there were gonna be some vacancies, some empty restaurants. They're
Yeah.
always packed.
Yeah, no, they're ready to go.
And yeah, that's at the end of the day, aside from hating winter, the biggest reason that we came here was because there was
Man,
so much growth. There's
let's-
huge potential for
Let's be
growth.
real. We didn't escape winter. It was like 7 degrees. Like
It
2
was.
days ago.
Yes,
We didn't escape no
okay.
It's
winter.
gonna be 2 days out of the
You're
year.
in Miami.
It's 2 days
That-
out of the year.
Yeah, but now you can walk outside without a coat. So
Exactly.
like, I don't. That does not count to me.
I felt like yesterday was like a snow day, like growing up, because I opened the door and I was like, oh, it's like icicles outside.
Oh,
This is
no.
crazy.
Hey, last question.
Last
You worked with us in a couple different projects,
Mhm.
and I respect you. Like, no lie. Like, I was in your office a couple times. I'm like, yo, you kind of scary, and I said scary in a way that it was like, there's a level of respect and admiration.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, what advice you got for us? Like, if I was a client, which kind of am, but like, what advice you give us? You worked with so many different levels of businesses. You've seen what we could do. Give me some advice. Give me some pointers. What do you
Oh my
think?
goodness, put me on the spot.
Put you on the spot.
I feel like I do critique you because, like, you came to my
100%.
office the other day and you were like, "Hey, check out this podcast," and I was like, "I would probably do X, Y, and Z, and I would probably do this for the intro." And you were like, "Okay."
I went back to
was like, "I'm
Casey.
sorry."
I went back to Casey and I re-edited some stuff.
But you know, I think I offer my opinion on things, not from an area of like any sort of malice. I never want anybody to take it like that. I feel like if I do try to give my 2 cents, it's gonna be to improve it or to help it or at least to give my point of view. And then of course you can take it with a grain of salt, right? Because I don't do marketing, I don't do social media, but I do watch, podcasts, or I do watch things and I'm like, oh, this would be cool. I saw this from so and so, maybe we can incorporate that. But I think for any business is to love your craft, right? It's like if you don't really love what you're doing, then it's going to get boring and it's going to become monotonous. Property management, is it fun? Is it super exciting? People are like, oh, she's the boss. I'm like, no, I'm the head of the complaint department, right? Because that's what happens as a building manager. You don't like something, every now and then we do get those complaints that come in. It's definitely nicer when we get, the random bouquet of flowers from tenants that we have had, or like random like lunches, or they'll bring us donuts and we're just like, hey, you know what? We just thought of you guys and we just want to do this. Like, that feels awesome. But I would say just love your craft, because at the end of the day, I like helping my tenants. I like working for them. And that's why I'm still doing it 7-8 years later, So for you guys with marketing, enjoy it. Find something that's fun. And if it's a project that you don't want to deal with, then you just say, you know what, take a hike. I've told some tenants that have come in, prospects, this building isn't for you. I could just already just tell from how we're doing the tour, how it's going. This is just going to be an absolute disaster, and I would rather not have to deal with you for the next 5 years on certain things, because you'll see that in whatever industry you have, right? Granted, you're always going to try to appease your client. The client's always right on certain things, but sometimes you can just tell this is not going to be a good fit for you or me or for my staff, because I'm very big on my staff being well respected and well treated. I do not take disrespect from anybody, and I do not allow any of my staff to be disrespected, no matter who you are. It doesn't work. And I have that mentality because of my boss, and quick story for that, which I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this right now. We had a tenant that was moving into this building, and he came in just livid. This is when I was at the other building. Cursed me up, one side, down the other. Granted, he was upset because, whatever hadn't happened. I get it. Was it necessary?
Not
Absolutely
at all.
not. And so I told my boss, I said, hey, he's kind of upset. He said, well, how did the interaction go? And I said, well, he said X, X, Y, and Z. And he said, what? So the tenant came in, he said, you know what? He said, Juliet can do as much for you or as little for you. You want her to be on your side. I don't need you. So if you are going to talk to her like that, then you could just leave. Like, I don't care. They were leasing almost like 7,000 square feet. And I was like, oh my God, like, we need this money. And he was just like, screw it. You can go. You don't like it here? Bye. Pick up your stuff and go. we don't have to deal with that because she doesn't have to deal with that, and I'm not gonna have her upset at her job. And I do the same thing with Michael. We had one incident where a tenant here had came in. It was not even one of the principals. It was like, a manager kind of like down here, but he came down feeling some type of way, and just went off. And I emailed the principals and I said, you know what, we work for you, but there's absolutely no condition why we should have to tolerate that, and I'm not going to tolerate that moving forward.
Absolutely not.
100%.
We've had
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
we've had the
absolutely.
same
I'm so
thing.
sorry and whatever. And I said, yeah, you have to address that. Like, there's no way.
We had that happen this winter. We had, and from time to time it happens, right? But like, I was working on another project and I found out that a client called and yelled at our staff, yelled at Casey, yelled at Jose, and they
I'm
were
an
upset
innocent
because it
victim.
was right before Christmas.
Mhm.
Okay, we had everything planned out. We had all of our projects in the pipeline. They wanted us to do something completely new, and they wanted us to do it
Now.
in less. Yep, right now. Yep.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Drop
and
everything and like
Drop
make-
everything,
Was
and
this
we were
me?
just
No.
politely.
With my constant changes to the website. Sorry, Casey.
No, you're fine. No, but politely, we were like, "Hey, we can do this after Christmas. We are letting our team have a Christmas break. You
Yeah.
know, and well, that's not going to work for us. We're just going to have to go to somebody else." And we
Okay.
were like, "Okay, I think that's best." And also I was thinking in my head, who in the world is going to say yes to this? And at the same time, when I'm like, at Christmas, absolutely no one. But it's just people will try to bully you and push you that
Yeah.
leverage. And at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to stand up for our staff, just
Yeah.
like you're doing the same thing that your boss did
Yeah.
for you, because
yeah.
that's not okay. I
It's
don't
not
care.
okay.
Like, yes, there are times we can be so upset. Something, maybe something really didn't go the way it was supposed to, but that gives you no right to speak.
No,
that way.
I'm
I-
super
absolutely
grateful
not.
for Emma. She had my back in so many situations with clients, and I have hers. And I think that's the cool thing about having a partner. Like, she has my back, I have
Yeah.
her back.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes people will call one of us trying to be like,
To
"Did you hear what?" And he's, and Jose would be like, "She did exactly." Like, there have been times where they've tried to undermine, as a
Uh-huh.
woman, once again, like, I lead the website department and what we do, and Jose leads content creation, and I've been building websites since I was like 8 years old.
She's
Okay.
been hacking since like 8 years
Okay, we're not
old.
gonna talk about that. This one, it was gonna be a really big client, and they didn't like, I guess, there were these older guys, and they didn't like that it was me that was gonna lead the project, and so they went around my back, even though I had done all the communication, and they called Jose, and they said, "Yeah, we'll work with you all if you run point on the project." And Jose goes, "Listen, I understand, but nope, you're going to be working with Emma if you're going to work with us, because she's absolutely the best, and that's what she does." And and I could not believe. I was like, "You just let this giant client walk out the door?" It was huge. It was like a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 website. And he said, "Well, if they're not going to work with you and they're not going to respect you, no, we're not working with them."
And it was gonna be like
Yeah.
it was people like, I don't like working with people that disrespect my partner or what we do.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna be a fun project to work on.
Absolutely. I mean, the running point for the team, I think, is imperative of making sure that the vibe within your team stays the same. Like, when it comes to, with Michael and Sarah, and I'm like, if I'm not there and I'm not hearing the disrespect, I just need you to just maintain your composure, okay? And you come and you tell me, and then I go handle it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You don't fight with the ton, because I have to be the bad person, right? I'm the building manager. They can be pissed at me all they can, but you're gonna see them a lot, probably more so in the day-to-day, and I want you guys to always be good. So yeah, I'll be the bad person. I don't care. And I went in and tell me, "You're so nice at telling me no." Like, I'll come in here knowing that you're probably gonna tell me no, but I still feel good when I leave, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that December client on the phone, they were going off on me because we were not gonna do the project, and I was like, "Man, you guys are really upset. I'm so sorry." And then I was like, "Have a nice day," and I hanged up. It's like, what else I want to do?
I know.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it. I got recommended this book. It's called The Raving Fans.
Ooh, I'm gonna add to my book list right now.
Add it to your book list. It's a really nice read. I think every small business owner should do it.
What's it called?
Raving Fans.
Raving Fans?
And it really outlines, going above and beyond for your clients and understanding the boundaries and being able to tell a client, this isn't a good fit because it doesn't align with what you do. It doesn't align with your values. I could tell that we're just not going to be able to work, and it's okay. But I think it's a fantastic book. It's a really easy read. It's a nice storyline. But yeah. Read it. Let me know what you think.
Thank
Yeah.
We can make a
you.
book
Thank
club.
you, Juliet, for the conversation, for the
It was
book
fun.
recommendations, for all of the laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really, really glad that we had you on our podcast today. And
For
for
sure.
everyone out there listening and watching, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe for more. And we'll be bringing on all sorts of interesting guests this season.
I am going to link all her information below if you guys are looking for a unit in Houston, in Midtown.
True. Yeah. So I am a commercial real estate agent. I was gonna say broker.
Mention Jose.
Agent. So yes, I do rep this building, Midtown Central Square. I have the building in Bel Air that I would love to have some tenants in for some office space. But if you have any other needs that you might need to do, warehousing, retail, things like that, I could definitely help you out and find your spot.
Heck yeah. And as always, if you are having any marketing questions or questions about growing your business, just drop us a line. We do free consults and we'd love to hear more. Thanks.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
next time.
Yep.